it really feels like we're right on the edge of something huge, something that could fundamentally change, well, what it means to be human. When you were looking through the sources for this deep dive, what was the thing that really struck you, the big shift happening right now?
Well, what jumped out immediately is how real this all is now.
Yeah.
We're moving past the science fiction stage.
Yeah.
It's becoming a tangible reality, Human brains and machines starting to directly talk to each other. And it's already touching healthcare, communication, how we even think about intelligence.
And identity itself.
Exactly. Our identity, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just incredibly important, I think, for you listening to understand what's really happening here.
Absolutely. And that's precisely why we're doing this deep dive today, brain-computer interfaces, BCIs. We're focusing particularly on companies like, well, the big one, Neuralink. Our mission, really, is to pull out the key pieces of information about this tech, look at the incredible things it might do, but also, grapple with the tough questions it brings up. Okay, so let's unpack it. Neuralink. What is it at its core? It's a neurotechnology company, right? Building direct communication paths, brain to computer.
That's the goal.
And the basic idea is implanting this tiny chip, sometimes people call it a neural lace, right into the brain.
Mm-hmm.
And its job is basically to read electrical signals.
And send them to?
Read and send, yeah.
Yeah.
And the engineering behind it is pretty incredible when you dig in. We're talking about these ultra-thin electrode threads, thinner than a human hair.
Wow.
And they're surgically placed into the cortex, the outer layer of the brain. So it's not some rigid block. It's designed to be more integrated.
Okay.
These threads connect up to a little chip about the size of a coin called the link, which sits embedded in the skull.
Right, the skull.
Yeah. And how it works is, the electrodes pick up neural spikes.
The brain's electrical activity. Exactly, the electrical chatter. Then AI algorithms decode those signals, turning them into actual commands. And that decoded info gets sent wirelessly in real time to computers or phones or whatever device.
So the key thing here is moving from just measuring outside the head to actually interacting inside. That's a huge leap.
It really is. It changes the whole interface with, consciousness itself.
Okay, we've got the tech basics, but what are the really big, ambitious goals here? What did the sources say about, say, medical breakthroughs? Where could this actually lead?
Well, the most immediate and, frankly, astounding vision is about restoring function.
Okay.
Think about giving mobility back to people who are paralyzed, or treating really tough neurological conditions, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, epilepsy, even severe depression.
That alone would be revolutionary.
Absolutely. And it extends further, like potentially helping blind people see by stimulating the visual cortex directly, or helping people regain speech or movement after a stroke or a spinal cord injury. It's about restoring those fundamental human abilities.
Okay, restoring is one thing, but I think I saw hints of upgrading. Are we talking about augmenting intelligence too? That feels like a whole different level from treating epilepsy.
It is, and that's what's fascinating, how quickly the potential scope broadens beyond just healing.
Right.
The idea that you could literally connect your brain directly to the internet or to an AI.
Wow, what would that even mean?
Well, potentially boosting memory, maybe learning things much faster, enhancing our, processing power. Imagine thinking something and it just happens digitally.
Yeah.
Typing an email, controlling your smart home just by thinking it. No hands needed.
That's huge. Enhancing what a human brain can naturally do.
Exactly.
And then there's the communication aspect. That's almost mind-bending. Silent communication, like telepathy.
Sort of, yeah. The potential for communication just via thought. Think about what that means for people who can't speak or have severe motor impairments.
It removes that barrier completely between the thought and actually expressing it.
It opens up whole new worlds. It's easy to jump to things like playing video games without a controller.
Which I definitely thought of.
Right. But then you think about someone who's quadriplegic being able to, write a book or just browse the web using only their thoughts. That's where the real profound impact lies, I think.
Yeah, the human element.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And if you zoom out even further, connected to the bigger picture, you get into this concept of human-machine symbiosis.
Okay. What's that?
It's this idea, mentioned in the sources, of merging human intelligence with AI, partly as a way to reduce the risk of humanity being, quote, left behind by super intelligent AI.
Keeping pace with AI.
Kind of, yeah. Helping humanity stay competitive, maybe, ensuring our evolution isn't just reactive to whatever AI develops, but more proactive.
Okay, so that's the grand vision, the dream. But let's ground ourselves. Where are we actually right now in 2025? We know Neuralink put chips in pigs and monkeys, right? They were playing video games with their minds.
That's right. Successful implantations demonstrating that basic mind control of external devices, which, just a few years ago sounded like pure science fiction.
Absolutely.
And then the really big step came in 2024. Neuralink got FDA approval for human trials.
Okay, that's huge.
It is. And by 2025, reports surfaced of the first human patient actually using the chip to control a computer cursor just with their thoughts.
Wow, so it's happening. It's not just lab animals anymore.
It's a tangible leap forward, yes. A major milestone for the whole field.
And it's important to remember Neuralink isn't the only player here, right? There are other companies.
Oh, definitely. Companies like Synchron, BrainCo, they're also making significant strides. Some are focusing on less invasive or maybe semi-invasive approaches.
So different strategies, but the same general direction.
Yeah, the whole field of BCI is really vibrant right now. Lots of innovation happening.
And looking ahead, say the next 5, maybe 10 years, what's the realistic projection?
I think it's pretty likely that we'll see brain chips becoming commercially viable for specific medical uses.
So moving out of trials and into actual treatments.
Exactly. Things like advanced prosthetics, new forms of rehabilitation after injury, maybe new therapies for cognitive disorders. It could genuinely revolutionize those areas, moving from experimental to actually accessible for patients.
Okay. So with all this power, all this potential, it feels like we're walking into completely new territory, which inevitably means big challenges, right? Ethical, technical, societal.
Huge challenges. Uncharted territory is a good way to put it.
Let's start with privacy and security. I mean, if this thing is reading your brain signals,
No.
what happens if that data gets hacked?
That's a massive concern. Your brain data is arguably the most personal data imaginable.
And beyond hacking, who even owns your thoughts if a machine can read them? Or maybe even influence them? Does the company own them? Do you?
It's a fundamental question we've literally never had to confront before.
Right, and that slides right into the next worry. Surveillance and control. The sources definitely raise those dystopian flags. Governments, corporations, could they monitor thoughts, manipulate them?
And look, this isn't about fear-mongering. It's just acknowledging the profound questions this tech forces on us. Questions about basic freedom, autonomy, in ways we haven't conceived of.
Yeah, and there's the inequality issue. If this kind of brain enhancement becomes possible, who gets it?
Will it just be the wealthy?
Could we end up with a new kind of divide, a cognitive elite versus everyone else, deepening the gaps we already have, but on a biological level almost?
It's a very real possibility that needs careful consideration. How do you ensure equitable access? Or should you even try?
Which leads to maybe the deepest question, what about identity? What does it mean to be human?
Right. If your thoughts, your cognitive processes, are significantly enhanced or altered by a machine, are you still, human in the way we understand it now?
Does it change consciousness, free will, the sense of self?
These are incredibly complex philosophical questions that suddenly become very practical engineering and ethical questions too. What makes us uniquely us when our inner world is directly tied to an external system?
And we can't forget the straightforward medical risks either.
No, absolutely not. Brain surgery is invasive, period. There are always risks.
Infections, damage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we just don't know the long-term effects yet. What happens after 10, 20, 30 years with this hardware in your brain? That's a huge unknown.
So wrapping this up.
Yeah.
It's clear that Neuralink and BCI technology in general isn't just another gadget. It feels like a genuine paradigm shift, not just in tech, but in what it could mean to be human. The potential upside fixing devastating diseases, maybe even pathways to intelligence beyond our current limits. It's staggering.
It truly is. But that immense power comes with, immense responsibility. Ethical, social, existential responsibility. We really are stepping into uncharted territory. A future where brains might not just be biological, but programmable.
Programmable brains? That's quite a thought. So after diving deep into all of this today, here's something for you to really chew on.